All right, guys, here we go. Favorite of ours, probably soon to be a favorite of yours. If you've watched any of our Trout Spey videos, you've seen this fly catch some fish. We call it the dirt. It's basically, we did a video, I don't know, 3-4 years ago now. That was called it the Trout Spey sculpin. It's basically version like 3 or 4 of that. But this is the version that we've been fishing for the last year or so. It's been working pretty dang good for us. So starting out, back hook, white, 50 denier, standard. All we're gonna do on our back hook is we're gonna connect our tail using sculpin olive, pine squirrel. I'm getting mine off of the whole skin. You can get it out of the bag. We have both in stock. The whole skins are sweet because you can pick strips like that, a little bit thicker. Not good for your leech patterns, really, really good for your sculpin patterns. All we're gonna do is split that hair, tie in our tail. Our tail is fairly short. This back hook is super, super simple. We want it to be lightweight, basically just extend the fly backwards a little ways. Perfect. Throw a couple of turns in there, anchor it back down. Thread down, perfect. And then we're gonna move this forward just shy of the eye, tie it down again. Like I said, super, super basic back hook. Hooks we're using are the B10S's, Gamakatsu size 6. These things are rad, super sticky, super sharp. Big fan. Throw a couple turns down there. Feel fine about that. I'm gonna pop back onto there just for good measure. Easy enough. Whip finish it. So the way that I like to tie these, oh my goodness, that was impressive. I like to tie them half a dozen at a time. It's really easy if you just go through and you tie a dozen tails and then you tie a dozen front sections, especially because the tail is so simple. There we go. That's our whole back section. All I'm going to do, flip it, hit it with a little bit of zap just to get it nice and durable, and then we're moving on to the front hook. I like to let this dry while I'm prepping my front hook. All right, front hook, same size, same hook, size 6, B10S. We are going to get started here. We've got a medium black tungsten cone. I left my intruder wire somewhere, so. All right, moving on. Front station, same hook, size 6 B10S, medium tungsten cone in black, so it might actually be a large. A little bit of lead stuffed into the cone just to keep things where they're supposed to be. It's not really for weight at all. All we're gonna do here for connecting the two is we're throwing in some intruder wire. Show you how I like to do that. Throw thread down the body, get in here, cover up that lead a little bit. One of the best tricks that I have for intruder wire is having a good, or at least decent, thread base. If you try to tie it onto a bare hook, you're not going to have fun. Using the red stuff, doesn't matter what color you use. I like to stuff it up into the cone a little ways and then step it down off of that lead. If you just tie it in on the flat part, it's not, necessarily going to break, but just putting that little hitch in it adds a ton of strength as far as how much weight you can put on it and all that good stuff. I like to reinforce these quite a bit. They've caught their fair share of summers, fair share of steelhead in general. So always like to have them a little bit overbuilt. Okay, coming back in with that back hook. Some guys like to go side to side with their intruder wire. I like to go up and down. Just tends to work better for me. Take that, thread it all the way back, and we're just going for a little tiny connection here. We're not going to throw any beads or anything in there. Just a little loop. Tie it down. See, I don't even like how big that is. Make it a little smaller. There we go. Awesome. Come in here with my crappy scissors, cut that intruder wire, shove that sharp end into the cone again. Finished up that intruder wire, getting it good and tied down. Whenever I'm tying articulated flies where that back hook's just kind of swinging around, I just like taking a rubber band, putting it somewhere on the vise, leading it up onto there. All that does is just kind of pin it down, keep it out of my way. Okay, tying down the squirrel. So we've got our tail section tied in there, ready to rock and roll. All we're gonna do with this squirrel is we're just gonna fold it over that junction, split the hair right there. And that is how we're gonna connect the two pieces. Up and over, a couple of turns. Get that good and cinched down. Easy enough. All right, up next, gonna do a short little body. It's just pearl, ice dub. I've tied it with yellow for the body, I've tied it with red for the body, I've tied it with all kinds of stuff. But pearl is the one that I keep coming back to. And like I said, this is just a short, super short little body. There's hardly anything to it. Just gonna cover up that hook there. All right. Body is done. Up next, I'm going to throw in some gills. I just use golden pheasant in red. Super easy. All I'm going to do is just throw one down each side. Perfect. So yeah, just straight away, take those suckers, tie them in. I like to go just to the back of the hook, or like just to the junction where we put those two sections together. That way they hang out a little bit. Easy breezy. And these don't have to be pretty. I mean, they kind of, I don't want to say they disappear in the water, but they're certainly not the most important piece. You can use all kinds of stuff for this. You can use red saddle, red dubbing, whatever you like. It's all going to get most of the way covered up anyhow. Okay. So now I'm going to take this squirrel, pull it over the top, tie that sucker down because we're going to start adding that collar in. Perfect. See how that side looks? Very nice. Very nice. All right. Pheasant rump. This one's dyed brown. Maybe it's olive. They're hard to tell. Just going to take a matching set of these. We're going to pull all of that fluff off of them. We're going to use these as our pec fins. So these have a little bit of a curve to them, as you can see. I like to do them with the curve just facing out. That way they kind of flare up, support that collar a little bit. Make a little bit of a prop for those next feathers that we're putting on there. Once again, I like going pretty long on these, about halfway down the fly. So with this fly, we're imitating sculpin. They got big, big heads on them, little tiny bodies. So keep that in mind when you're tying. We want lots and lots of profile up front, skinny tail. All right, last step. grizzly marabou, sculpin olive. This stuff is just chickaboo, so it's marabou from a chicken instead of a turkey. It's just shorter fibers. All that I'm gonna do is kind of look through them. We've got some that I like, some that I don't. Probably not gonna use that. That looks excellent. That looks okay. So I'm gonna stack these. If I've got, I'm probably gonna end up doing 3 feathers because they don't wrap very far. But if I've got 3 feathers, I wanna go from the longest, end with the shortest. Start out with one. It's nice and long and wispy. Tie it in by the tip. Pull those fibers back. These are usually only good for a turn or 2 or 3, sometimes 3. There's one. That one's gonna be 1.5. So this is a super messy way to tie this collar, but it turns out looking pretty stinking good. So just keep going. If the first one looks like crap, just keep going. Keep wrapping. All right, second feather, tying it in by the tip. Working our way forward. This one looks like it's probably gonna be good for 3 turns. Go. Oop. All right, we're starting to get there. Definitely gonna do one more. Might throw on 2 more. Don't know quite yet. Let's see. If I was a smarter guy, I'd already have these sized and picked out. But it's okay. I think that one's gonna have enough to finish us off. Looking on that side, looking sharp. Perfect. Couple good turns on there. Turn that sucker off, throw a whip finish in there. So one of the things that we're really looking for with this fly is having that big front section, that really high profile head on this fly. When water comes up and over, it's going to split and then kind of kick that tail back around. Creates a lot of action without you actually having to do anything. Super easy to cast. We've tried it all kinds of different ways, beads, lead eyes, all kinds of different weight, all kinds of different materials. This one we found was pretty dang easy to cast. It's excellent on a Trout Spey setup, excellent on a single hand setup. Tie it smaller for creeks. Tie it bigger if you're going out stripping for brown trout. Do all kinds of stuff with it. But it's been a winner in our book, and you've seen it catch a lot of fish. So tie some up, get out there.